When night falls and the wilderness awakens, hidden cameras capture what we were never meant to see. This video is absolutely no exception to that. This video was taken back in 2006 in the Catalonian forest, where two men and their families were on a camping trip. I'm not entirely sure what led up to the men taking this video or why they were walking around the forest at night, but regardless of how they got into this position, what happened next is something I'm sure they will never forget. As they walk deeper into this forest, something catches their attention. They see what looks like a mysterious creature on top of a tree branch. As they see the creature, they obviously stop walking and are filming it, scared for what it might be. The forest is of course full of dangerous animals, so it's always good to proceed with caution, but I'm sure these men had no idea just how scary this creature was about to become. As the light from the recorder shines on the creature and the men try to get a closer look, the creature turns its face to look directly at them. The creature's eyes glow in the light with a human-looking head but an inhuman-feeling aura. The men quickly book it out of there, and I have to say, I would do exactly the same thing. After experiencing something like that, I don't think you could ever catch me in the woods again. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Skinwalker in the Woods. This creepy video was posted to TikTok by the user Adrian Montenegro02, and it was supposed to be just a casual video showing a camping trip with their family that they were taking near Monterrey in Mexico. It should just be a nice casual fun family trip, right? Wrong. Of course not. This video shows the family all hanging out together, with one member being pushed on a swing by a couple other members. This is all fine and well, but it's what's in the background that really has viewers concerned, and definitely had the family freaking out when they reviewed the footage. In the back, you see a creepy figure moving around. This figure is pale and human looking, and it just moves around quietly, like it's trying not to be seen. Is it hiding from the family? Is it planning something sinister? After posting, many viewers began putting forth their theories. Some believe the figure seen in the back is a skinwalker, while others believe it is someone who lives in the woods waiting for their moment to strike. At the end of the day, whatever this thing is, it is sure unsettling, and all I can ask is, why is it watching this family's vacation? In our number 8 spot today, we have Bigfoot. Would this list truly be complete without the sighting of a supposed Bigfoot? This video comes from 2015 when a man named McCamey reported seeing a strange, unexplainable creature hiding in the woods. McCamey was kayaking in a swamp close to Tampa in Florida when he heard a noise, and then he began to see some strange movement. He started recording what he thought was likely a bear or a similar kind of animal, but as he got closer he realized that something more unusual was going on. The creature began to navigate through the alligator-infested water with ease, and it began using its arms to swing through the branches, which is something that isn't really commonly seen with bears, as far as I know. Some people believe this video is a hoax, while others believe this is full-blown proof that Bigfoot is alive and well and living in Florida. What do you think? In our number 7 spot today, we have a cult meeting. This next video comes from a group of friends who were on a casual hike, enjoying themselves, getting some fresh air and exercise, but little did they know they were about to stumble upon something a lot more sinister than a typical day outdoors. As they are hiking on the trail and up a hill, they look back and see some kind of weird secret cult or secret society type meeting. These people begin walking, dressed in white robes, and while that obviously isn't any kind of a crime, it's bizarre, to say the least. The person who took the video also posted another video of this strange encounter, because these people didn't just look creepy, they were also making creepy sounds. I can't tell if the sound is music, singing, chanting, screaming, I'm not entirely sure, but whatever it is, it was all creepy enough for these guys to stop their hike, record, and post it on the internet for all of us to watch and wonder, what exactly is going on here? In our number 6 spot today, we have the backyard horror. This video starts off with someone recording in their home. We quickly find out that the reason they started recording is because they noticed something strange in their backyard. Never a good way to start off a video. He apparently was hearing weird voices coming from outside of his house, and of course wanted to record as he investigated, and well, Good thing he did. He turns the lights off inside so that he could see what was going on outside better, and, well, absolute nightmare fuel ensues when he does this. As he turns the camera to the dark backyard, he suddenly sees a human-like creature come darting towards him. The figure appears to have come from a bush in the backyard, and who knows how long it had been there for. What is so creepy to me is that this creature clearly knew he was looking into the yard at this point, so I want to know how long it was there for, watching him through the windows. Also, what the hell is that thing? Let me know. In our number 5 spot today, we have the creepy figure. This video starts off with a group of men riding their motorcycles through the woods, which honestly already sounds challenging enough. The video seems to be progressing as one would expect until things take a turn for the worse. Quickly, the video descends into terror and madness as they realize that something or someone is chasing them. You can hear one of the men yelling and screaming for help as the other men in front of him begin to pull over and try and figure out what is happening. That would be absolutely jarring to be just on a fun day out with your friends when suddenly one of them starts screaming for help. Absolutely terrifying already, but I don't think any of the men were expecting to see what happens next. A creepy human-like creature can be seen chasing the men, and when one of them gets off the bike, it begins coming up to the bike and toward the group. The men are caught between being utterly terrified of this encounter while also trying to protect their bike from damage or being stolen. You can absolutely hear the panic in their voices as they try to figure out what exactly is going on. In our number 4 spot today, we have this weird creature. This video comes from Australia, which is of course the land of creepy creatures, and whatever is caught on this video is certainly no exception. The person who captured the video was driving through a deserted forest at night, which just already feels like you're asking for trouble. As they are driving through this creepy area and recording, something appears in front of the car. This creature, whatever it is, although it doesn't look like any animals that I know of, quickly disappears just as quickly as it did appear, moving in a strange and very fast way. Let's take another look at this thing, but slow down a bit. Honestly, I have no explanation for what this is or what it could be. Some believe it's a skinwalker, others believe it's a demon. Whatever you want to believe, let's just hope you never cross paths with it. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Appalachian Trail footage. This next creepy video comes from someone who was hiking by themselves along the Appalachian Trail. He was resting in his tent, again, all alone, when suddenly he began to hear a terrifying screeching sound. I guess when you're out in the wilderness all alone, you really have no choice but to investigate the creepy sound. Better to know where it's coming from than just wait and see and hope for the best. He gets out of his tent and begins recording the sound as he calls out for any response to what could be making this horrifying sound. You can hear the fear in his voice as he tries to shine his light and see as far as he can in the pitch black wilderness. The noise sounds as though it's getting closer and closer, and you can faintly see shadows moving in between the trees as if something knows he is there and is coming to take a look. At one point, it even looks like you can maybe see the reflection of eyes off in the distance. It isn't quite clear exactly what he encountered that day, but whatever it is, I wouldn't want to meet it face to face. In our number 2 spot today, we have the creepy man. This video was taken in a remote area in Montana, out in what appears to be some kind of forest area. Now, a lot of the videos on today's list feature unknown creatures and creepy looking things, but this video looks like it just captures a man. The man gives off a kind of weird vibe to begin with. I mean, he's just standing alone in the woods, which is kind of weird. But the people recording call out to him to see if he's okay, if he needs any help, just to double check, which, you know, that's very nice of them. Unfortunately, instead of just a regular casual encounter, this man suddenly turns into an absolute nightmare. The man begins to move towards the people recording, but not in a normal human way, in a creepy, crawling way that would make anyone feel absolutely disturbed. Was this just a creepy person trying to freak someone out, or was something a little bit more paranormal at play? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the graveyard ghost. Okay, I'll be honest, this video doesn't take place on a trail or in the woods, but it does take place somewhere equally as creepy, and that is a graveyard, perhaps one of the creepiest places on Earth. It isn't quite clear exactly where this graveyard is, but the person who took the video had initially gone there because they apparently had been hearing some strange noises coming from the cemetery for several days. I feel like if I had heard a strange noise coming from a cemetery, I'd probably call the police, or Ed and Lorraine Warren. The last thing I would ever do would be to take it upon myself to investigate. The curious video taker is clearly braver than I because they went to explore and definitely found more than they had bargained for. I have absolutely no idea what this thing is, with its elongated limbs and creepy posture. I'm not sure how the person taking the video was able to stand there for so long, but I feel like fight or flight really took over in this case. Was this a ghost, a demon, a zombie? Honestly, at this point, the possibilities are endless.
In 2007 and 2008, two baby mammoths, later named Lyuba and Chroma, were found in Siberia. They were so well preserved that researchers were able to piece together how they died, even though both calves, one about 1 month old and the other 2 months old, died more than 40,000 years ago. Scientists used CT scans to find that the two mammoths probably choked on mud after falling into water. Daniel Fisher, a co-author of the study, stated the mud was like a really thick batter that they got clogged in their trachea and they were unable to dislodge by coughing. Basically preserved them from taking another breath. Lyuba and the 1 month old calf was discovered by a reindeer herder. Chroma was found in 2008, frozen upright in permafrost. Scavengers had eaten parts of her heart, lungs, and skull. But both mummies still showed a neonatal line on their teeth, a marker of stress during birth, which helped scientists estimate their ages. CT scans of Lyuba showed signs of what's called a mammalian dive reflex, showing that she fell through the ice into a muddy lake where she tried to clear the mud from her airways but eventually suffocated. Chroma, who had a belly full of breast milk, also had mud in her trachea, but her death is a bit less cut and dry. But according to researchers, it's possible she fell into a river, broke her back, and was then buried in mud while trying to escape. In 2015, scientists in Siberia discovered a baby woolly rhino, perfectly preserved in a frozen riverbank. Nicknamed Sasha after the man who found it, the rhino calf is the most complete specimen of its kind ever discovered. Sasha lived around 10,000 years ago, was about 1.5 meters long, or almost 5 feet, and 0.8 meters high, about 2.6 feet, much smaller than the fully grown adults, which could reach up to 15 feet long. According to Albert Protopopov from the Yakutian Academy of Sciences, baby woolly rhinos are incredibly rare to find, so this was a pretty amazing discovery, especially because it helps researchers learn more about the early life of these animals, which they didn't really know much about before. Woolly rhinos went extinct around 10,000 years ago. Climate change and habitat loss likely led to their extinction, but some scientists also think overhunting may have been a part of it. Around 30,000 years ago in Siberia, a tiny cave lion cub was making its way across the tundra when a sudden mudslide or crack in the permafrost caused the cub to fall and get trapped. The cub was buried in ice, preserving her fur, skin, and organs in almost perfect condition. This poor cub, later named Sparta, was discovered by mammoth tusk hunters in 2017, poking out of the melting permafrost in Yakutia, Siberia. Sparta is probably the best preserved Ice Age animal ever found, said Love Dallin, one of the study's co-authors, going on to say that even her whiskers were preserved. Sparta died about 28,000 years ago, and she was actually found alongside another cub named Boris, who was even older, dying around 43,000 years ago. Both cubs were about 1 to 2 months old when they died, with their sharp teeth just starting to emerge. Cave lions were closely related to modern African lions and lived across the northern hemisphere during the Ice Age. Unlike today's lions, though, these were, of course, adapted to freezing cold weather. In 2020, a perfectly preserved bear mummy was discovered in the Siberian permafrost. Siberia again. But anyway, it wasn't quite what scientists expected. At first, researchers thought they'd found the remains of a giant extinct cave bear, but eventually they realized the bear was much younger and from a completely different species. The bear was found by reindeer herders on a remote island in the East Siberian Sea. It was so well preserved that scientists could still see its skin, fur, claws, teeth, nose, internal organs, and even body fat. The remains were named the Etherican bear after a nearby river. At first, researchers at the Lazarev Mammoth Museum believed the bear was a cave bear, a massive species that went extinct about 22,000 years ago, but this bear was only about 3,460 years old. Turned out to be a young female brown bear standing just over 5 feet tall and weighing around 172 pounds. It was probably around 2 to 3 years old when it died. The bear's stomach contents revealed it had been eating plants and birds, with feathers still found inside its belly, which is incredible when you think about it. It also had signs of spinal injuries, which may have contributed to its death. In 2016, a gold miner in Yukon, Canada discovered something frozen in the ice. It turned out to be an ancient wolf pup, which had been almost perfectly preserved for 57,000 years. The mummified gray wolf, known as Zur, was found in the Klondike goldfields near Dawson City. Lead researcher Julie Machin, an anatomy professor, called it, quote, the most complete wolf specimen ever found from the Ice Age, going on to say all her soft tissue, her hair, her skin, even her little nose is still there. She's just complete, and that is really rare. Using radiocarbon dating and DNA analysis, scientists confirmed Zur died at just 7 weeks old. The remains were especially important because they were discovered in North America, unlike most finds in Siberia, as you've seen from this list, which are harder to access. Machen and her team were able to link Zur's DNA to both ancient Beringian wolves from Yukon and Russian gray wolves, which means that ancient wolves from North America and Eurasia mixed. Zur's remains also showed them what Ice Age wolves ate. The assumption had always been that they mostly ate bison or oxen, but as it turned out, this wolf mostly consumed aquatic animals, much like modern wolves in Alaska. In 2011, members of a tribe in northern Siberia found the remains of a steppe bison, perfectly preserved after being frozen for nearly 10,000 years. The bison was transported to the Yakutian Academy of Sciences, where scientists began to study it. Unlike other bison mummies discovered over the years, this one was almost entirely intact, with its internal organs in remarkable condition. Olga Potapova, collections curator at the mammoth site of Hot Springs, explained that while bison mummies are not uncommon, they're usually incomplete, saying, quote, normally what you find with mummies of megafauna is partial carcasses, but this mummy was preserved so well that it earned a record for the level of its preservation. The bison, which was probably about 4 years old when it died, looked like it had starved to death. There was no fat around its abdomen, but its heart and digestive systems were pretty intact, even though some organs had shrunk over time. Researchers even managed to extract tissue samples from each organ, and for the first time ever, they found steppe bison brain tissue still preserved. In 2022, a nearly perfectly mummified baby woolly mammoth was discovered by a miner in the permafrost of Canada's Klondike goldfields, dating back around 30,000 years. The calf, thought to be around 1 month old when it died, was a female and measured just 4.5 feet long. Researchers described it as the most complete mummified mammoth found in North America. A lot of its skin and hair was still intact. As an Ice Age paleontologist, it had been one of my lifelong dreams to come face to face with a real woolly mammoth, said Grant Zazula, a paleontologist with the Yukon government, going on to describe the mammoth as, quote, one of the most incredible mummified Ice Age animals ever discovered in the world. The discovery happened when a mine worker hit something unexpected while digging. The team stopped all their work and brought in geologists who managed to recover the mammoth's remains, and just in time because a storm had been rolling in. Analysis suggested that the mammoth may have died after getting trapped in mud while grazing, with grass found in her stomach. In 2018, yet another incredible discovery was made in Siberia. The nearly perfectly preserved mummified remains of an Ice Age horse, believed to have died between 30,000 and 40,000 years ago. Its body was so well preserved that even tiny details like the hairs in its nostrils and around its hooves were still visible. The foal was found deep in a crater, about 328 feet or 100 meters deep, during an expedition in Yakutia. It was around 2 months old when it died. The mummified body was almost entirely intact, with no visible damage. Scientists collected samples from the foal's hair and tissue and found it belonged to an extinct species known as the Lena horse, which was genetically distinct from the wild horses that still roam the area today. This species lived in Siberia tens of thousands of years ago and disappeared long before modern horses evolved. In 2016, biologist Steve Emsley was in southern Antarctica Antarctica when he came across something kind of confusing. It looked to be a recently abandoned Adelie penguin colony. There were mummified chicks, guano stains, pebbles from nests, but the thing is, Adelie penguins hadn't been spotted in the region for centuries. What Emsley soon discovered was that the penguin remains were far older than anyone could have imagined. Radiocarbon dating of the bones, eggshells, and mummified skin showed that these penguins had been dead for thousands of years. The rapidly melting ice in Antarctica revealed these ancient penguin remains. The penguins had likely settled in the area during warmer periods when the sea ice melted early, allowing the birds to reach the area and build their nests. The most recent colony, which had been buried during the Little Ice Age about 800 years ago, was finally uncovered as the region's ice began to recede. What you're looking at here is a tardigrade, aka a water bear. Now, is this a newly discovered alien species? Well, I wish, but no, these things actually exist right here at home. They're just really, really tiny, which I'm thankful for, because imagine if that alien-looking thing was the size of just even a regular house cat. That would just be horrifying. Tardigrades, nicknamed water bears, are one of the most resilient animals on the planet. They're microscopic animals that are known for their ability to survive in very extreme conditions all over the world. In places like Antarctica, they've been found frozen in ice for thousands of years. And what's amazing about these things is their ability to go into a kind of state of suspended animation. When conditions are harsh, like extreme cold or dryness, tardigrades dry out or freeze and enter a kind of hibernation. And when researchers thaw them out, they can come back to life. Water bears have even survived space travel in this dormant state. This makes them one of the toughest known organisms in the world.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we are talking about the blue whale. Imagine a creature so massive that even the mighty megalodon, one of the most feared predators to ever roam the oceans, would seem small in comparison. Now, meet the blue whale, the largest animal to have ever existed, dwarfing even the megalodon. These gentle giants can grow up to a jaw-dropping 100 feet, which is about 30 meters in length, and they weigh up to 200 tons, about the weight of 33 elephants. And here's the kicker. They're of course still alive today, cruising through the oceans like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. While the megalodon was a fierce hunter, the blue whale is a filter feeder, consuming thousands of pounds of krill each day, almost as if it's an endless vacuum cleaner of the sea. What's truly mind-blowing is that blue whales never stop growing. They keep gaining size throughout their lives. Imagine seeing one of these titanic creatures in person. A living reminder that the ocean still holds secrets bigger than our imagination. What would you feel if you came face to face with this behemoth, knowing that in the vast ocean, there's always something bigger just waiting to be discovered? In our number 9 spot today, we have the Leadsichthys. Imagine swimming in the ocean 165 million years ago during the Jurassic period, and instead of encountering the infamous megalodon, you come face to face with the Leadsichthys, a fish so enormous that it could grow up to 75 feet long. That's nearly the size of a Boeing 737. Unlike the terrifying toothy megalodon, Leadsichthys wasn't a predator. In fact, it was a gentle giant that spent its days gliding through the ancient seas, filtering plankton and small sea creatures from the water. But don't let its peaceful diet fool you. This colossal creature could weigh up to 45 tons, making it a serious heavyweight in the ancient oceans. And, like the blue whale, it kept growing throughout its life, meaning that the older it got, the more massive it became. Can you imagine a fish so big that it would make modern sharks look like minnows? Even though it doesn't have rows of razor-sharp teeth like the megalodon, the sheer size of the Leadsichthys was enough to make it one of the most formidable creatures of its time. In our number 8 spot today, we are talking about the Shastasaurus. These guys were the undisputed king of the Triassic seas, a massive marine reptile that could reach up to lengths of 69 feet, making it larger than many of today's ocean giants and easily outsizing the fearsome megalodon. This wasn't just any ancient predator. The Shastasaurus was an ichthyosaurus, a dolphin-like creature that dominated the oceans over 200 million years ago. Despite its intimidating size, it wasn't the sharp-toothed terror you might expect. In fact, they had a toothless snout and fed on soft-bodied prey like squid, making it a giant of the prehistoric seas. What's even more fascinating is how streamlined its body was, designed for speed and efficiency, allowing this behemoth to glide through the water with ease. And just like other ancient ocean giants, it didn't stop growing, continuing to expand throughout its lifetime. Can you imagine swimming alongside a creature so big that even modern whales look small by comparison? It's incredible to think that the oceans once held creatures that made even the megalodon seem ordinary. Be a terrifying time. Prehistoric oceans? No thank you. Even now the ocean's pretty scary. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Spinosaurus. The Spinosaurus wasn't just your typical dinosaur. It was a 50-foot-long, semi-aquatic beast that ruled both land and water, making it one of the most formidable creatures to ever exist. This terrifying predator, known for its enormous sail-like structure on its back, was the largest carnivorous dinosaur, even bigger than the infamous T-Rex. What makes the Spinosaurus truly fascinating is its unique lifestyle. It wasn't confined to dry land like most other dinos. Instead, it spent much of its time hunting in rivers and swamps, feasting on fish and any unlucky prey that crossed its path. With webbed feet and a crocodile-like snout filled with sharp teeth, Spinosaurus was built for an aquatic life, making it one of the few land animals that could have challenged the megalodon for dominance had they ever crossed paths in some prehistoric nightmare. And like many ancient creatures, it kept growing, becoming an even larger menace over time. It's no wonder this creature continues to capture the imagination. It lived in 2 worlds, mastering both, and its sheer size and power are enough to send chills down anyone's spine. What would it have been like to witness such a colossal creature stalking through the water? A true nightmare on land and sea. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Supersaurus. When I was writing this, I was trying so hard to think of a way, you know when you're at like a place and they're like, do you want the super salad? Like the soup or salad, but it sounds like super salad? The Supersaurus? I don't know. You see where I'm going with this, right? Alright, the Supersaurus was a true titan of the prehistoric world, stretching an astonishing 105 to 112 feet in length, making it one of the longest land animals ever to walk the earth. This sauropod was so massive that its neck alone could have rivaled the entire body length of smaller dinosaurs. To put that into perspective, the Supersaurus was nearly twice the length of the megalodon, and while it wasn't a predator, its sheer size would have made it a giant among giants. Unlike the fast-swimming megalodon, Supersaurus was a slow-moving herbivore, but its incredible length and towering height meant that it could graze the treetops that other dinosaurs couldn't even reach. Its long, whip-like tail and enormous pillar-like legs helped support its massive frame, making it a lumbering colossus that ruled the land. It is mind-blowing to think that the Earth once supported life this big, and Supersaurus stands as one of the most awe-inspiring examples of nature's ability to create true giants. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Argentinosaurus. The Argentinosaurus was a living colossus, one of the largest land animals to ever walk the planet. This gigantic titanosaur from the late Cretaceous period could grow up to 100 feet long and weigh over 100 tons, making it significantly larger than the megalodon, despite being a land dweller. Its sheer size is almost incomprehensible. Imagine a creature that weighed as much as 14 African elephants towering over the prehistoric landscape. Argentinosaurus didn't stop there, it kept growing throughout its life, adding mass and bulk and reaching heights that allowed it to feast on the treetops. Supported by massive tree trunk-like legs, this beast moved slowly but steadily, its size alone a defense against predators. With a body so long it could stretch across a basketball court, the Argentinosaurus made an indelible mark on the history of life on Earth. Just thinking about a creature this large walking the same planet that we now inhabit raises the question, could anything on Earth today ever reach such a size again? In our number 4 spot today, we have the Paraceratherium. This was an absolute giant, towering over the landscape as the largest land mammal to ever exist. This hornless rhinoceros from the Oligocene epoch stood about 16 feet tall at the shoulder, about the height of a giraffe, and weighed up to a staggering 20 tons. That's more than double the weight of the largest African elephants alive today, and far heavier than many marine creatures, including the fearsome megalodon. Unlike its modern rhino relatives, these guys had no horn because it didn't need one. Its sheer size alone made it nearly invincible to predators. It roamed ancient forests and grasslands, using its long neck to reach vegetation, essentially living the life of a mammalian sauropod. With legs like pillars and a body built for sheer bulk, Paraceratherium would have been a true marvel to witness, dwarfing everything in its path. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Leviathan. Leviathan was a true monster of the ancient oceans, a predator that could rival even the megalodon. This prehistoric sperm whale, which lived around 12 to 13 million years ago during the Miocene epoch, grew up to 57 feet long, making it one of the top apex predators of its time. But it wasn't just its size that made Leviathan terrifying. It had teeth up to a foot long, some of the largest of any known animal. Unlike modern sperm whales, which primarily feed on squid, Leviathan hunted large marine animals, including other whales. Its massive jaw and fearsome bite made it a powerful force in the ancient seas, competing directly with the megalodon for the title of the ocean's most fearsome predator. And like other giant creatures of its era, Leviathan didn't stop growing as it aged, becoming an even more imposing presence in the deep. Imagine a clash between Leviathan and Megalodon, two oceanic titans battling for supremacy in a prehistoric world that would make today's seas look tame. Could there be any other predators out there that could match this giant's raw power? Leviathan's reign in the oceans is a reminder of just how dangerous and awe-inspiring Earth's ancient waters once were. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Pliosaurus funki. Better known as Predator X, this was a marine nightmare that ruled the Jurassic seas long before the megalodon appeared. Growing up to 50 feet in length, this pliosaur was a powerhouse built for one thing: killing. With jaws that could generate an insane bite force, some estimates suggesting it was 4 times more powerful than that of a T-Rex, Predator X was capable of crushing anything unfortunate enough to get in its way. Its teeth, each the size of a banana, were designed to rip through flesh with terrifying efficiency. While its sheer size is impressive, it's the combination of speed, strength, and those monstrous jaws that made Predator X one of the most fearsome creatures of its time. As it patrolled the oceans, nothing was safe. Whether it was other marine reptiles or giant fish, Predator X was at the top of the food chain. And like many ancient ocean giants, it continued to grow throughout its life, making it an even more terrifying predator as it aged. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the fin whale. The fin whale is a modern day giant, second only to the blue whale in size, and still one of the largest animals to have ever lived. Stretching up to 85 feet in length, this sleek ocean dweller far surpasses the megalodon in size, though it doesn't share the same fearsome reputation. Instead of hunting prey like the megalodon, the fin whale is a filter feeder, gulping down massive amounts of water and filtering out tiny krill and plankton. Despite its very peaceful diet, the sheer scale of the fin whale is enough to leave you in awe. It can weigh up to 80 tons, and its heart alone can be as heavy as a small car. What's even more fascinating is that, much like the blue whale, the fin whale never stops growing. It continues to expand as it ages, adding to its already massive frame. This living titan silently cruises the world's oceans, a reminder that nature's giants aren't just creatures of the past.
Well, this is exciting. This news just came out the other day. In the waters off the Solomon Islands, there is a sea creature so massive it could be seen from space. In fact, it's one of the largest living organisms on Earth, a colossal coral colony. Discovered by a team of researchers and filmmakers, this coral is roughly the size of 2 basketball courts. Unlike most coral reefs, which are made up of different colonies, this one is an individual organism made up of millions of tiny animals called polyps. The species is Pavona clavus, and its size and slow growth suggests it's been around for centuries. Underwater photographer Manu Sanfelix, who first saw it last month, was in awe, saying, quote, "It's a dream to see something unique like this. When Napoleon was alive, this thing was here," end quote. Before this discovery, the largest known coral was in American Samoa, measuring about 22 meters wide, but as marine conservation expert Stacy Jupiter points out, humans have only surveyed about 5% of the planet's marine realm. That means there could still be larger corals hidden out in uncharted waters. What you're looking at here is a newly discovered creature. Again, news about this one just came out the other day. In the Monterey Canyon off California, marine biologist Bruce Robison made a discovery back in 2000. While exploring with robotic vehicles, he came across a strange gelatinous blob with a giant hood, finger-like projections, and colorful internal organs. Fast forward nearly 25 years, and Robison, along with colleague Stephen Haddock, which is a great name for someone who studies fish, they have finally solved the mystery. They've identified this bizarre creature as a brand new type of nudibranch, or sea slug. Now, unlike other sea slugs that crawl along the ocean floor though, this one floats. Looks a lot more like a jellyfish. Even more astonishing, this new nudibranch can jet backward by expelling water from its hood. The hood, as it turns out, is like a Venus flytrap, capable of expanding and contracting to trap its prey. The creature is also bioluminescent and has both male and female reproductive organs. A pretty fascinating little creature. These are recently discovered octopus species. Roughly 2 miles beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean near Costa Rica, scientists found 4 brand new species of octopus during expeditions in June and December of last year. It all started when researchers spotted pink octopus hatchlings coming out from their eggs at a place known as El Dorado Hill. Jorge Cortez Nunez, a researcher from the University of Costa Rica, said it was unexpected to find so many species of octopus in a small area, first, and second, at 3,000 meters depth. In June, researchers using a remotely operated vehicle named Sebastian found 2 octopus nurseries around hydrothermal springs on the sea floor. They discovered that these octopuses seemed to prefer the warm waters from the vents, which helps shorten their long incubation period. The warm water gives the eggs a better chance of surviving in the cold, dark depths. One of the new species was even given an unofficial nickname, the Dorado octopus, after the spot where it was found. The species has short arms and small eyes, similar to the pearl octopus found off California. The other species had bigger eyes and longer arms. The 4th species is especially mysterious, with bumpy pale skin and a strange row of suckers on each arm. In total, about 310 deep-sea octopus specimens were collected. What you're looking at here is a recently discovered species of fish in China. You'll notice that it doesn't have eyes. They kind of look like raw chicken cutlets or something else that I can't really describe on here. And those dark patches that you see, those are its internal organs. Deep in an underground river in southern China, scientists found these blind pink fish with no eyes. They were swimming in the dark depths of a cave system in Guangxi when researchers first encountered them during surveys between 2019 and 2024. They were on the hunt for Chinese karst loaches, but quickly realized that this fish didn't match any known species. After studying it, the team confirmed that they had discovered a new species. This is the overly complicated scientific name on screen now, so I'll use the nickname Dachshund Chinese karst loach. These tiny fish are only about an inch long and have elongated bodies with no scales. They also have wide heads, narrow mouths, and whisker-like thingies on their heads, but again, no eyes. Researchers believe this species, like others in the area, lives in deep caves with underground rivers and is rarely seen by people. In November of last year, anglers off the coast of Pakistan reeled in a strange catch, a quote, torpedo-shaped predator with teeth on its tongue. At first they thought it was a regular fish, but researchers Sherkan Panwara and Imtiaz Kashani soon realized they'd actually found something new. And after examining these fish in the lab, they discovered not one, but two new species. The first was Rachicentron blotchi, or the blotchy cobia. These predators are about 3 feet long, weigh around 8 pounds, and have small eyes, pointed snouts, and tiny teeth on their jaws, the roof of their mouths, and yes, even their tongues. Inside their stomachs, they found a mix of small fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods. Second species, Rachicentron marquiensis, or the macron cobia, is smaller, about 2.5 feet long, and weighs about 6 pounds. It has a short, pointed head, small teeth, and a greenish coloring with a gray band running along its side. Its stomach contained mostly digested material and some crab parts. How's this for an animal name? The night-armored catfish. Pretty cool, but does it live up to its name? Well, this is one right here. Divers in northern Brazil were exploring the Xingju River, hoping to find some Asaku preto, a thorny black fish often sold in the aquarium trade. Well, it turns out these fish hadn't been documented by science yet. After teaming up with local fishermen and digging through museum collections, scientists realized that this was a brand new species which they named Pseudacanthicus nictos, or the night-armored catfish. These fish can grow up to 10 inches long and have completely black eyes, forked teeth, and their bodies are covered in armor-like plates and thorny spikes. Living in the murky depths of the river, they're usually found around submerged logs, sometimes as deep as 65 feet. As you could probably tell, they're carnivores, feeding on small aquatic animals. They're also very territorial. The males can get very aggressive, especially when sharing space with other males. Off the coast of Belize, anglers unknowingly caught a new species of shark between 2016 and 2019. First they thought they'd just landed another hammerhead, but something about the shark's unique shovel-shaped heads made scientists take a closer look. And after analyzing the shark's body shape, skeleton, and DNA, researchers realized these were part of a completely new species, the shovelbill shark. These small sharks, measuring up to 3 feet 4 inches long, have these very unique, flat, shovel-looking heads. They're found in coastal waters, estuaries, coral reefs, and seagrass beds from Belize all the way to Brazil. They're often caught by anglers, and experts warn that they may already be highly threatened. As co-author of the study, Demian Chapman said, "It is tragic that we have only just recognized that this species exists, and we are already running against the clock to prevent its extinction." Yeah, that is very sad, especially because these sharks are kind of cute, you know? Off the coast of Saudi Arabia, researchers exploring coral reefs discovered this tiny, really upset-looking fish, and honestly, I think if I looked like this, I would also be in a pretty bad mood all the time. While diving in the Red Sea, they released clove oil into an underwater cave to sedate the fish inside, and a small dark red goby floated to the surface. At first, they weren't sure what species it was, and after several sightings and a few more catches, they figured out why. This was not a species they'd ever seen before. This little fish, only about ½ an inch long, had a severely curved mouth that gave it this sort of grumpy look. Researchers named it the grumpy dwarf goby because of this permanently unhappy looking facial expression. The fish is incredibly rare, with only 10 specimens found during extensive collections along the Saudi Arabian coast, said the researchers. They live in small caves, rocky overhangs, or crevices about 32 to 100 feet below the surface. Again, in the caves of southern China, researchers discovered a fish which they'd named Liu's cave loach, a new species swimming through heavily polluted water. The creatures caught the attention of scientists visiting the area in 2023. Spelled out for you here is their scientific name, but again, they're also called Liu's cave loach for short. They can grow up to 2.5 inches long. They have elongated bodies covered in tiny scales with bright yellow fins. Their snouts are lined with whiskers, almost like catfish, and their eyes have a yellowish hue. They live in underground rivers and cave pools, but don't show the usual traits of cave-dwelling species. They were also found breeding in a cave pond, despite the water being heavily polluted from nearby sugar factories and duck farms. So far, Liu's cave loaches have only been found in the caves of Yifeng District, Guangxi, a province in southern China near the Vietnam border. Deep beneath the surface of the ocean, researchers have discovered 3 brand new species of sea stars living in some of the most remote and bizarre environments on Earth. The sea stars were found thousands of feet below the surface at methane seeps in underwater valleys using remote-controlled vehicles during surveys between 2003 and 2018. One of the new species showing up on screen in text right now because I don't have a week to learn how to pronounce that. Anyway, it was discovered off the coast of Costa Rica about 3,200 feet down. With flower-like patterns of small plates on its back, these creatures move along the seafloor using tube feet that extend down each arm. Another species, Hymonostella davidalani, also found in Costa Rica, looks similar but has thorny, elongated spines along the edge of its body. The third species, Cayman Ostella lorisae, has short spines covered in thick skin, and interestingly, all mature specimens looked identical. These deep sea stars seem to live around stuff that sinks to the bottom of the ocean, like sunken wood, which gives them shelter and food. And researchers still aren't sure if the sea stars eat only the wood or if they have other food sources down there. Well, this thing looks creepy. Earlier this year, a team of researchers from China set out on an expedition to the northwestern Pacific Ocean to explore the depths around the Caroline Plate, an area off the coast of the Philippines. They weren't diving themselves, but instead used an underwater robot to explore the area and collect tiny creatures from the ocean floor. And when the robot pulled up a sample from a seamount, among the tiny critters they found was a pregnant amphipod, a type of shrimp-like creature that's just a few millimeters long. But this wasn't like any amphipod they'd ever seen. This was a brand new species, now been dubbed Esoris carolinus. It's an interesting but again very creepy looking creature. Good thing it's so small. The eyes in particular were noted as being large and very well pigmented, which helped it stand out among the other species that live in these deep waters. And here's the really interesting part. When the researchers looked inside its body, they found 9 baby amphipods growing inside her. This footage here was captured in 2015, a never-before-seen species of squid. So a group of researchers from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, Guillermo Helmholtz Center for Ocean Research Kiel, and the University of South Florida teamed up for an expedition in the Gulf of California off Mexico's west coast. Using a remotely operated vehicle, the team was able to dive as deep as 8,000 feet without ever leaving the surface and without disturbing the creature's environment. The team managed to capture a large squid on camera, but soon they noticed something strange about this one. The squid was carrying dozens of giant eggs, around 30 to 40 of them, each about half an inch across. Now, squids of the species they thought this mother was, called gonatids, usually carry eggs that are only about a fifth of an inch in diameter, so these were much bigger. They'd never seen eggs this large in any gonatid squid before, and there's no other squid known to carry eggs of this size. So the researchers figured there was a very good chance they discovered a brand new species altogether. Pictured here is a brand new species of fish found in Africa. Earlier this year in Zambia, a strange creature was spotted swimming through a river, heading straight for a bridge. Scientists pulled the creature from the water, at first having no idea what they just found, while it turned out they discovered a brand new species. The team had been in the middle of a project studying a group of fish called Nanocharax, more commonly known as darters. They were looking at preserved specimens collected from rivers in South Africa when something odd started to stand out. out. The fish from a few specific rivers, mostly caught in 2005, had a distinct pattern that was different from the usual darters they were used to. These fish had a unique scale pattern and a banded coloring that immediately caught the researchers' attention. And after further investigation, they realized that they'd uncovered a completely new species dubbed Nanocharyx skeltoni, or Skelton's darter fish. They decided to name the species after Paul Harvey Skelton, a renowned professor at the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity. A study came out this past April about a brand new species of jellyfish discovered off the coast of Florida, pictured here. Peter Schuchert and Richard Collins carried out 91 nighttime scuba dives near Palm Beach over the course of years, and they found some pretty cool stuff, like, just some never before seen jellyfish, for example. After photographing the creatures and capturing 2 of them, they took a closer look and realized they'd found a new species which was soon dubbed Zancleopsis grandis, or the large Zancleopsis jellyfish. These things are just over an inch tall with tentacles stretching more than 2 inches in length. The body itself has a long, narrow shape that shifts as the jellyfish moves through the water. The researchers named it grandis because of the relatively large size and the big bulbs on its tentacles. And just like other jellyfish, Zancleopsis grandis uses jet propulsion to move. It sucks in water and then squirts it back out through a small opening, propelling itself forward through the water. Kind of crazy that these new things were found in Florida. As Collins put it, part of the work we are doing is to demonstrate and document the amazing oceanic biodiversity here in Florida. Florida waters are well studied relative to most of the world's oceans, and yet there is still so much to learn and discover. And yeah, that is crazy because Florida, right? And then you got all this vast water over so much of the earth. Like, who knows what crazy stuff could be out there. Now, this is the first and only piece of footage ever captured of a living genus of squid called this. Just earlier this year, the Schmidt Ocean Institute led a team of oceanographers on an expedition to some of the remotest parts of the southeastern Pacific Ocean. During their month-long mission, they came across 20 never-before-seen species and another 80 that were observed in this part of the ocean for the first time. These squids have only ever been seen on the surface, i.e. they've been brought up in nets, dead. We've never seen one alive swimming around in its natural habitat, so this was pretty amazing to see. And there haven't even been that many specimens of these creatures either. It's such a rare genus that we've only had like a few specimens, and a lot of them came from the late 1800s. Sea cucumbers don't really sound all that scary, but I mean, just look at this one. This is what's called a brown-ringed sea cucumber, and it was just discovered. Scientists on a submarine were exploring the South China Sea when they spotted this small, reddish sea creature. It didn't quite look like anything they'd seen before, and as it turns out, it wasn't anything they'd seen before. It was found during a series of dives between 2018 and 2023, using a manned submersible. When the team surfaced and had a chance to study the creature, which had something like 20 tentacles and over 70 tube feet, they realized that they'd uncovered a new animal and gave it this crazy name that, again, I can't even begin to pronounce. AKA the brown-ringed sea cucumber, though. This new species of sea cucumber can grow to about 8 inches long and around 2 inches wide, and this wasn't all they found either. Yanlu Zhao and Haibin Zhang, part of the research team, also discovered 2 more new species of sea cucumber on the same expedition. Next up, we have another story that came out this past April about a new creature discovered off the southern tip of China. Just what is this thing? An ancient wood carving? Well, no, it's actually the shell of a living animal. A research team from China was exploring a deep sea area called the Haima Cold Seep off the coast of Hainan Island when their underwater robot picked up something from the sea floor. It was a shell, and at first the researchers didn't really think much of it, but once they took a closer look, they were like, well, actually, what exactly is this thing? The shell belonged to a type of mollusk known for living in extreme environments. like cold seeps. These are special areas on the seafloor where chemicals like methane and hydrogen sulfide leak up from the Earth's crust, creating this chemically rich water that only very specific life forms can survive in. This weird shell was just over 4 inches long and had a quote robust and rectangular shape. The mollusk's foot, the part that sticks out from the shell when it wants to move around, was described as large with an oval sole. But it was really the shape of the shell that made this thing so unique. It's the fact that it's rectangular. Other species' shells are usually curved inward on the ends. Just look at how gorgeous this snail is. On the coastlines of Japan, a tiny new species of sea creature has been found. Hiroshi Fukuda, a researcher and associate professor at Okayama University, first came across these rare snails over 30 years ago when he was still a student. They were actually relatively well known in Japan, but had never been formally documented until last year. Fukuda studied dozens of these snails and ended up naming them this. And luckily, it has a much easier to pronounce nickname, the strange dwarf snail. These snails are tiny, measuring less than 1/10 of an inch long, and Fukuda described these snails as bizarre. These things are small, but they move around quickly, crawling in step-like movements. Fukuda wrote in his paper that they're usually found crawling on muddy walls of earthworm and crab burrows, which might be why they were overlooked for such a long time. This strange-looking animal was discovered in an underwater cave. A team of researchers recently discovered a brand new species of hermit crab in a dark underwater cave in Japan, about 100 feet from the entrance. The 3-person team found this tiny critter in just about 3 feet of water. After carefully examining the male specimen, they realized they had come across a new species. This is its name, also called this. Not even the alternate name is easy to say. This new species is incredibly small though, measuring less than 1 centimeter long. Aw, that's cute. What really set it apart from other hermit crabs were its claws. They were described as strongly unequal and dissimilar. The right claw is moderately slender, the left claw is much smaller, only about half the size of the right one. And this last thing looks like it just hurts. Look at those like little spines and spikes on it. In March of 2021, researchers took a deep dive into the South China Sea using a manned submersible. During one of their dives, they came across a large crab sitting on some coral. They captured the creature and brought it back to study. Until then, this was a never-before documented species, which was later dubbed Gordonopsis mazupo. Finally, a scientific name that I can actually get my lips around. But they're also known as Mazu's porter crab. This new species is considered pretty big for a crab. Its body is about 1.2 inches long, with legs stretching more than 3.5 inches. When you include its legs, the crab measures over 8 inches across in total. Its claws are especially interesting, described as blade-like. The researchers named it Gordonopsis mazupo after Mazu, the Chinese goddess or grandmother of the sea. And so far, only one of these things has ever been found.
In January 2024, scientists made a groundbreaking discovery while filming the National Geographic series Pole to Pole with Will Smith for Disney+, the largest anaconda ever recorded. A new species called Unexplained akiyama, or the northern green anaconda. Until then, it was believed that only one species of green anaconda existed. However, this new discovery, published in the scientific journal MDPI Diversity in February, proved otherwise. Researcher Brian G. Fry, speaking to Reuters, explained that their original mission was to study anacondas as indicator species to assess the environmental damage caused by rampant oil spills in Ecuador's Yasuni region. The two species of green anacondas split nearly 10 million years ago, yet remain genetically almost identical. This find not only sheds light on the diversity of wildlife, but also underscores the impact of human activities on these very fragile ecosystems. In January 2024, researchers made an exciting announcement in the journal PLOS1, the discovery of a new species of lizard called Abronia cunemica, also known as the Copilla arboreal alligator lizard. This journey began back in 2014 when the species was first spotted in photographs taken in the northern highlands of Chiapas, Mexico. Between 2015 and 2022, scientists embarked on 5 expeditions to the region, determined to gather enough evidence to officially classify the species. Their efforts paid off, and Abronia cunemica was finally confirmed. confirmed. As reported by the Miami Herald, this unique lizard dwells high up in trees, showcasing distinctive brown and yellow scales, and can grow to over 9 inches long. This discovery not only adds to our understanding of the biodiversity in this region, but also highlights the thrill of uncovering species previously unknown to science. In 2024, scientists aboard the RV Falker made an exciting discovery off the coast of Costa Rica, a new species of deep-sea octopus, the Dorado octopus. This new species is a part of the mus octopus gene, and it was found during an expedition exploring seamounts and hydrothermal vents. The octopuses were observed brooding their eggs near these warm vents, which provide an ideal environment for their offspring to hatch faster. Named after the discovery site El Dorado Hill, the Dorado octopus stands out as a close relative of the pearl octopus discovered off of California. This discovery adds to growing evidence that many deep-sea octopuses have evolved to take advantage of these hydrothermal habitats. The research team, led by doctors Beth Orcutt and Jorge Cortez, also identified several other new octopus species during their expeditions, contributing to the rich biodiversity of the deep Pacific waters. In 2019, a commercial fossil hunter named Mark Eatma made an exciting discovery on a ranch in Montana, a set of dinosaur bones unlike anything ever seen before. I know that this discovery didn't happen right in 2024, okay, you can stop typing your comment, but there are still so many discussions and debates going on about its classification, which I think makes it a perfect candidate for this list today. This skeleton caught the attention of experts, and it was eventually purchased by Denmark's Museum of Evolution, where it is now proudly displayed. This newly discovered species, named Lokiceratops rangiformis, was given its unique name due to its striking horns, which resemble those of Norse god Loki. The name perfectly captures the creature's mysterious and powerful appearance, adding a mythological flair to this remarkable paleontological find. In an exciting deep-sea expedition off the coast of Chile, researchers uncovered over 100 previously unknown marine species, as well as several massive underwater mountains, including one towering more than 4 times taller than the Burj Khalifa. These newly discovered species include bizarre and fascinating creatures like intricate sponges, spiral-shaped corals, and a bright red sea toad with hand-like fins. The expedition, carried out by the Schmidt Ocean Institute, used an underwater robot to explore the slopes of seamounts, revealing this stunning biodiversity in one of the world's most remote and unexplored regions. While identifying and classifying these new species will take time, the discovery offers a glimpse into the rich, hidden ecosystems of the deep ocean and underscores the importance of protecting these very vulnerable habitats. In 2019, researchers from the non-profit Ocean X and the Cape Eleuthera Island School embarked on an ambitious mission to the Bahamas, specifically to explore the depths of Exuma Sound. During their expedition, they stumbled upon an entirely new species of isopod, which they fittingly named Burralana nicorum. However, it wasn't until January 2024 that they shared their exciting discovery in the journal Zootaxa. This ancient crustacean, estimated to be 300 million years old, is a distant relative of the beloved roly-poly. By studying this remarkable species, scientists hope to uncover crucial insights into the ecosystem of the Great Bahama Banks, one of the most unique marine environments on Earth. The discovery offers a glimpse into the deep history of our oceans and promises to shed light on the delicate balance of life that thrives in these waters. In a remarkable discovery beneath the Arctic sea ice, University of Manitoba graduate student Aurélie Delaforge uncovered Canada's first scientifically confirmed monster. This tiny creature, just 2 millimeters long, is a new species of copepod from the Monstraloida family named Monstralopsis planifrons, or the flat-headed monster. With its translucent body, bristly legs, 1 weak eye, and 2 antennae covered in ragged hairs, it swims through the dark waters of Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. Despite its monstrous name, this zooplankton is harmless and and fascinating. Delaforge wasn't intentionally seeking for new species. While sampling ocean water during her PhD research on plankton blooms, she encountered the copepod during its rare adult form, which only appears for 2 months a year. Her background in taxonomy paired with fortunate timing allowed her to recognize the oddity in her samples. After sending her findings to a leading expert in Mexico, the creature was confirmed as a new species, officially adding to Canada's Arctic biodiversity. Delaforge's discovery, published in the journal Zookeys, highlights the mysteries still lurking in the Arctic today. As she puts it, quote, "When we study the Arctic, there are still things we don't know. This is a good example." A new dragonfly species, Epithemsis wayandensis, or the red-rumped hawklet, has been discovered in the lush forests of Wyandotte, part of the Western Ghats. This species stands out due to its darker pigmentation, a distinct red patch on its abdomen, and the absence of a yellow stripe seen in related species. This discovery was made by a team of researchers from Christ College, India, and the Max Planck Institute in Germany during a study of Kerala's insects. Genetic analysis revealed a surprising 12% difference from its closest relative, confirming it as a new species. This dragonfly is highly seasonal, appearing only in October before spending the rest of the year as larvae. The findings were published in the Journal of Asia-Pacific Biodiversity. In March 2021, 14-year-old Davis Marthin Damiletto set out with his father on a journey through the countryside near their home in eastern Indonesia. What started as an exploration of his lifelong fascination with the natural world quickly turned into a groundbreaking discovery. During their trek, Davis stumbled upon a strange-looking insect that he had never seen before. Rather than ignoring it, Davis collected the unusual creature and brought it home, where he then reached out to Garda Bagus Damastra, founder of the Indonesian Mantis and Phasmid Forum. After careful study and collaboration with international entomologists, Davis's discovery was confirmed as a brand new species of stick insect. This species is the first of its genus ever recorded in the area, and only the second distinct stick insect species from the island. Remarkably, Davis monitored the entire development of the insect from egg to adulthood, helping researchers better understand this new addition to science. For Davis, this achievement at such a young age is a proud reminder of the importance of curiosity and exploration, especially when it comes to the often overlooked world of insects. In 2024, researchers discovered a new species of Antarctic dragonfish off the western Antarctic peninsula. Nicknamed the banded dragonfish, it was identified through genetic analysis of larval specimens initially mistaken for a related species. However, after comparing DNA from samples worldwide, scientists realized the genetic differences pointed to a new species. This new species is notable for the two distinct bands on its sides, a feature not found in its close relatives. This discovery highlights both the unknown biodiversity of the Antarctic and the fragile state of its ecosystem, as the dragonfish has a limited range and could be vulnerable to environmental changes and commercial fishing. The species was named in honor of the recently decommissioned research vessel Lawrence M. Gould, which played a very vital role in Antarctic exploration.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Want to see more videos like this one? Click this video next. We found some evidence of the legendary Bigfoot. We can't believe the footage we found, so you'll have to see for yourself. Click the video now. What are you waiting for?